Thanks very much for joining us, Martin. So just to cover off first, you've been a real fan favourite at the Tanners this season. What led you to becoming the assistant manager here?
It's quite a funny story actually. So I know Richard Brady, chairman of Leatherhead, and basically what happened was that I've been doing my coaching badges for a number of years, and I wanted to apply to get onto the A licence, which I'm currently on. So Richard works for the FA, and he approached me and basically said, look, would you like to come along and do some coaching for the club, which I was delighted about. So I came to the club, and Richard and Duncan Evans spoke to me and said, look, would you do the academy games for us? They had like 2 or 3 games left to the back end of last season, which I was delighted to do. So I came along, I did the academy games, and we had 2, which we won both. We beat Dorking at Dorking's new ground, so obviously that was always a good thing. And hopefully I impressed them. Richard came to me and he said to me, look, I'd like to get you involved in the coaching staff for next year. So we kind of went away in the summer, had to think about what we wanted to do, but I was really keen to kind of get on board. Richard set up a meeting with myself and Nikki to basically talk about football, and I went and met Nikki in May last year to discuss potentially coming in on a coaching capacity. The first meeting we had, we basically talked for about 3 hours, just non-stop about football and how Nikki had come from a professional background. I hadn't played any professional football, but there was a synergy between us about what we thought would be good for the club moving forward. So we had a couple more meetings, and eventually Nikki approached me and sort of said, would you like to come and help me by being the assistant manager, which was something that I jumped at. My background, obviously, I'd kind of come from a local football club called Fleetdown, where I was manager, and I had ambitions of kind of coming and managing at a higher level. So spoke to Nick. He asked me, what did he want from kind of me, and what did I want from him, and we just got on like a house on fire. And that's realistically how I got involved in kind of coming into Leatherhead, and I've loved it every day since I've kind of been here.
Shorty, ho! Send it, get there, draw it. Yeah, love that big un, love that big boy.
You mentioned there that you and Nikki get on really well, and sort of any assistant manager and managerial team needs chemistry to get that going.
Yep.
Nikki had some really great comments about you recently in an interview that we did together. He said that you're the best signing this club's made for years.
Yeah.
Obviously that's got to be great to hear.
Yeah, fantastic. I was quite embarrassed when I heard that. I know it sounds ridiculous. I find praise like that. I'm quite a modest person. I was delighted. I was over the moon, and I said to Nikki, I think I texted him that night, and I said, you know what, I'm not normally stuck for words, but I am kind of stuck for words with regards to that, and I'm very grateful. And the reason being is Nikki was an ex-pro footballer. He's been coached day in, day out. He's worked with people for a number of years, and when Nikki speaks to me, he's very open with his praise, and for that I'll be forever grateful. But I think the thing with myself and Nikki is, and I don't think a lot of people are kind of quite aware of this, but Nikki's man management of me is exceptional, and I put that into context where I'm the sort of person that if you allow me to have an opportunity, I'll run through walls for you. I'll do whatever I can. And Nikki spotted that from day one. And every week, every month, we speak to each other probably once, if not twice a day. And he's very forthcoming with lots of praise for me. And to me, that makes me then want to do more for him, to do more for the club. And so, we have a fantastic relationship, both professional and personal, and that's quite funny actually, because we only met each other in May, and already I feel like he's kind of been a friend of mine for 10 years, and that's why we get on so well. But like I said to you, he knows how to manage me, and he's been exceptional, because not that people are aware, but he's had a hard time over the last couple of months, and he's never ever brought that to football, and that taught me something which I want to take forward with myself moving forward, that whatever's going on outside of football, when you come to football, they're the rules. Football is first. And everything else can kind of wait to a certain degree. So, Nikki's been fantastic to me, and I can't thank him enough. And the best signing club's ever made, I take it as a fantastic piece of advice, achievement, whatever it may be. You can tell I'm getting a bit embarrassed about it now, but you know, he's been fantastic, and he makes me want to kind of do a little bit more for the club than I thought was possible. So yeah, that's the way I'd answer that one.
Just touching on that again, do you think that you've bonded so quickly because you have a similar philosophy or similar outlook on football?
Yeah, definitely. When we first met, Nick spoke to me and he sort of said, "Look, these are my views," and that's what I say when I go back to the meeting that we had. It wasn't brilliant for my wife. She wasn't very happy. I was gone for most of the day, but we just sat there for 3 hours in a Costa Coffee in Maidstone, basically just talking football. And he spoke to me about, you know, how he was looking to do the football club. He wanted to know kind of my views on certain things, and we just share the same vision. We share the same views. It's funny, we'll text each other. He'll speak to me about lineups and training and how certain things were, and we often overlap each other with texts. We just see things exactly the same way. So, you know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant working for Leatherhead, but it's brilliant working with Nick. I'm very, very grateful. He teaches me a lot of stuff. You know, he comes up with certain phrases and ways of handling certain things, which, you know, and I'm learning all the time, and I will continue to learn. And I listen, and I love what he says. I'm going to try and use it moving forward. But you know, he's been fantastic. He's been fantastic.
I mentioned a little bit earlier that the fans, obviously, are a real fan favourite. They've been incredibly vocal in their support of you as well. I think they've been using the hashtag on Twitter, Macca is a Tanner. Is it that kind of praise that keeps you wanting to come back and helping out at this club, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think me and the fans, we've just got a natural bond. And someone asked me this question ages ago, and they sort of said, why do you feel like you get such a great rapport with the fans? And I think it's because I'm one of them. I think it is because I'm one of them. And when I say that, they want someone who's going to love their club, right? And that's what I want to bring to the table. They want somebody who's going to be honest, potentially probably someone who's just a down-to-earth person. You know, unfortunately in the football world, like I said earlier on, you get lots of pro people come into the game, and I'm not one of them. I'm just a very, very lucky coach that's been given a great opportunity at Leatherhead. I speak to the fans quite a lot. You know, I'm not shy in saying that I will speak to them on social media. And the thing is, you know, I'm a normal person, and they're normal people. You know, and there's no ego with me, and I'm not saying there's any ego at the club at all, but there's no ego with me. I will talk to them about anything, and I've had some wonderful conversations with them, whether it be about football, whether it be about personal stuff that's going on. You know, a couple of people have approached me and sort of said, can I have your advice on this? And it's love and marriage and mental health, whatever the case may be. And I love that. I love the fact that they feel they can have a rapport with me. And yeah, they're the reason why, notoriously, I come back week after week. You know, I drive up from Dartford 2 or 3 times a week, and I wouldn't do that unless I kind of felt at home. And I'm probably one of the only assistant managers in the league or in football that has a song sung about him at games, which again I love. It embarrasses me, but I love it. And it makes me feel like what I'm doing is right. And when I go home, you know, everyone's got like a safe haven. And when I go home and I speak to my wife and my kids, and you know, I tell them the funny stories about that, it's a reason why I keep doing what I'm doing. You know, and I can only thank them. You know, and I love speaking to them. I love listening to them. You know, they can have as much opinion with me on social media as they want, because do you know what? This is their club. You know, as I said to you, they want someone who loves it. You know, and we do love it. You know, Nikki and I are, you know, we're constantly thinking about better ways that we can help the club move forward. We can structure things, etc., etc. But you know, they're a huge part of why I come up and down the motorway, you know, week after week. And I can only thank them. And you know, hopefully the feeling is mutual. And listen, I'll do whatever I can for them and for their football club.
Now take him on, Jerry. Don't think about anything else, but take him on. Jerry! That's excellent. Will Salmon, great energy.
So I think the question on everyone's mind is, will you and Nikki be here next season?
Okay, so you had the opportunity to speak to Nick, but yeah, okay. First and foremost, I want to be here next year. I hope to be here next year. The thing with Nikki and myself is we're always honest in regards to our answers, you know, because I think honesty is a huge part of kind of the culture that we try and create at the club. Currently, the situation is I am speaking to the club about next season, and the reason being is this year I agreed at the start of this year, and I want to remain until the end of the season doing it for free. Basically, I wanted to come in with an opportunity to prove myself, and to do that I was willing to kind of put my money where my mouth was. But for myself, travelling up and down from Dartford 2 and 3 times a week becomes quite expensive, and with a young family I kind of have to balance what I'm doing versus, you know, potential costs. So I have spoken to Nikki, and I've spoken to the club as well, both Rich and Duncan, about potentially, you know, getting an opportunity to maybe get a contract for next season. And like the fans know, listen, I want to be here next year. I hope to be here next year. But I've just got to be totally honest and say, listen, if for whatever reason it didn't come to fruition, I'd never want to lie to the fans, and I just want to give them complete transparency, and that's kind of where we're at. So, you know, again, for the record, I want to be here. You know, I hope to be here next season, and if I'm not, it's just purely down to the fact that it's not financially viable for me, based on the travel that I do.
Speaking about next season, at the start of this season we had a bit of a rocky start where there was only a few senior players on the books. You and Nikki basically had to come in and build a completely new team. Have the building blocks been put in for next season yet, or is that still ongoing discussions?
Yeah, we've had conversations, Nikki and myself, for about the last 2 or 3 weeks, might have even been a bit longer, have been speaking about what we want for next year. Obviously, you know, Nikki's in charge. You know, Nikki's the manager, but he's asked me my advice on, you know, who's done well for us this season, and any areas that we need to strengthen. And so we've put our heads together, and we're already formulating hopefully something for next year. We've still got a long way to go for this season, you know, and we're still in the playoff hunt. And we're telling the players week in, week out, you know, we will chalk games off week by week, and hopefully, you know, we've still got a long way to go for this season. So yes, we're talking about next season, but this season ain't finished yet. So hopefully we'll be in a better frame of mind to rediscuss it at the end of the season when we may potentially need new priorities.
Just touching on this season, what do you and Nikki deem as a success, or have you did you set targets at the beginning of the season, or have they kind of gone out the window?
Do you know what? It's a really good question. It was a question that was asked to us when we attended a recent supporters meeting, and the answers are exactly the same. What do you determine as success? You know, each club's different. Success for some clubs is obviously the league position. You know, success for some clubs is financial recognition. Success for some clubs is achieving promotions, surviving relegations, whatever the case may be. For Nikki and myself, our sole aim for this season was stability and building a foundation. And you have to have a foresight. You can't just, you know, come up with something and say, yeah, no, this is what we're looking at, this is success for us. You know, you have to be realistic, and realism is a word in football that I use and Nikki uses quite a lot. We're real in regards to what we took over, which was 2 players and a young Will Seeger at the start of this season, and we had to rebuild a whole team, whole squad. And week by week we then found out that players that we had, potentially we may have needed, you know, more adaptable players or better players in certain positions, or, you know, we needed more of one and not another. So as the season's gone on, you know, it was a bit like a revolving door at the start of the season. You know, the fans saw it, we saw it. So for us, it was about building foundations. Now, we started the beginning of the season and we said, do you know what? We have to be within the top 5 defensive records by the end of the season to give ourselves an opportunity of making the playoffs. Right? That was the conversation that took place. So we've worked hard week after week, session after session, on making sure that we don't concede goals, because we knew that we were going to have a lot of younger players. Okay, and with younger players comes, some mistakes. It happens with older players as well. But we knew that potentially we might have shortcomings in certain areas, but if we were defensively stable and defensively sound, we'd have half an opportunity this year. So that was the only real plan we put in place. We said, do you know what? If we can get to the end of the season and we're in the top 5 defensive records, we'll be doing well. And currently, after today, we're still second. And I think we've had 6 clean sheets out of the last 8. And it's something that we're working on. And they're the small stages that Nikki and myself want to kind of look at, because other people would say it's this and it's that. And, other clubs will have different structures. They'll have different financial recognition. They'll have different lots of stuff. For us, we inherited a club. We wanted to build a philosophy that was you had to roll your sleeves up and play for us. These fans, they want someone that puts a shift in every week. And if you don't do that, you don't come in our dressing room. And week by week, potentially we've brought other new players in, or we've got back some young players because we believe in them. And so success for us was getting the season out of the way, finish as high up as possible. Let's be real about this. You can't kid a kidder. But if we could set ourselves objectives that were bite-sized chunks, defensively sound, then we'd be happy. And as I said, being the second best defensive record in the league so far, that's good. No, that's good, and that's something we can build on. And we know where our shortcomings are, and we're okay with that. Because Rome wasn't built in a day. So that's where we are, and hopefully that kind of answers the question.
Go on then, go on then, go on, go on, go on! Man on, one more! Shawnee! Go on, love that ball, Will!
You mentioned there that giving youngsters a chance. Over this season, we've seen a lot of sort of impressive youngsters get game time here. Just to mention a few, you've obviously got Ezra at right back, who was man of the match today against Folkestone. You got Craig McGee that started a couple of games. Obviously, there's many more that we can talk about. Obviously, Misha as well. How important is it to give youth a chance at this level?
Oh, it's massive. It's massive for us. It's massive for the club. It comes back to your philosophy. This club, when we first came on board, they had a vision that they wanted to bring in young, hungry players. With young, hungry players, obviously you don't get the finished article. But you know what? Sometimes with young players, they give you great attitude, they give you great desire, they give you unbelievable work rate. And so for us, it's really important to bring through the youth. Now, again, measure your success. One of the things which Nikki and I wanted to do was bring through young players. And a lot of people in football say, we like to bring through the youth, but I don't know if they really do. At Leatherhead we do. We've tried and tested bringing through kids. And the one thing which we stick to week in, week out is if you train well and you give us good attitude and we have an opportunity to play you, we will. And we've done that all season. And young players like you mentioned, Craigie McGee, Ezra, Charlie Cook, Jack Skinner. The list goes on and on and on and on. Young Andrew Blake, who needs a mention because his attitude has been unbelievable this season. They've all had game time, and they've all had good game time. It's not as if we put them in and took them off after 60 minutes and then not played them again for 6 weeks. They've all had a run of games. So it's hugely important to us to give youth a chance. And it's also hugely important because if you're a youth player out somewhere else and you want to get game time, Leatherhead's a good club to come to, and and Nikki and Macca are hopefully good people that will give you an opportunity to learn you the game, give you some game understanding, be honest with you, which is a key commodity in football, but also give you playing time that means that you can go on and strategically benefit in your career, and it gives you a platform playing in front of these fans to go out there. They back them to the hill. Social media is brilliant when you get a new player. They constantly swamping them with praise, and that's key. At a young age, psychologically, we expect them to be a finished player. They're not. They're nowhere near it. We know that, and we want to give them an opportunity to play. And if we can help progress them, listen, that's great. And if they can help progress Leatherhead Football Club, that's even better. So that's why we want to play the youth.
You're a highly qualified coach yourself. I don't know if many people know, but you're currently studying for UEFA A licence, which is right at the top. So in terms of working with youth, was that something that you kind of wanted to bring through to develop them so they could go higher up the leagues, or did it just come about naturally, really, just because of the way that the club is?
No, I think from one of the first conversations Nikki and I had, and I go back to that first meeting, you know, he said to me, what's your thoughts on young players? And I said, what's yours? And we both agreed that, you know, they're hungry. And if you want energy and work rate, which is a team that we want to build on, and we want to press in the final third, and we want to kind of work with an intensity that, you know, defies, you know, belief sometimes, you need younger players. And that's not to say experienced players don't give you that. That's not to say that at all. But with young players, you know, they've got something to prove. A bit like myself, you know. I'm a young coach with everything to prove, and I'm still learning. I'm nowhere near the finished article. These players, they're exactly the same. So, you know, I understand them. Nikki understands them as well. But we want to kind of give them a platform to go and progress. Now, I said this earlier on, whether that's progressing by taking Leatherhead forward or progressing in their own careers, time will tell. You know, but what we're here to do, and me specifically, is to coach them and give them game understanding of certain scenarios and paint pictures for them of what happens in football at certain times and what decisions they should make. And, you know, my personal philosophy is that we want to make footballers make better decisions for themselves, and that's what we try to do at Leatherhead. So within the dressing room, on the pitch, we want to give them an opportunity to go out there and go, do you know what, in that scenario I need to do this. If they get looked at and they get taken to higher clubs, then fantastic. Do you know what, we'll have done our bit. You know, coaching is something I love. You know, it's something that I probably wanted to do even when I was playing. You know, I was quite vocal in kind of what I did. But I also want to try and give them the other side of it. So I want to coach the person and not just the player. You know, we come into training and, you know, these guys, like anybody else, they'll go through certain things, whether it's injuries, whether it's personal problems, you know, and we're here and we're approachable. And we want to be someone that they can come to and go, do you know what, Macca, listen, this is what's going on. And I want to be able to help them. You know, I'm a father, I've got 2 kids, you know, but I also want to try and help them as much as possible, because I think with a growth mindset that we try and put into the players, that's only good for this football club. This is only good for our development, you know, our structure. So, you know, it's key. It's key bringing through youth, and it's key for me to have youth representing this football club, because it's an age-old tradition for Leatherhead to watch their players and want the best for them. So, you know, that's what we want to try and achieve.
From watching you throughout games,
yeah,
sometimes you're more interested in what's going on in the pitch. You seem to head every ball, kick every ball. If a player's slightly out of position, you're immediately on them, encouraging them, you know, trying to get them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Do you think this enthusiasm from the dugout rubs off on the players?
I hope so. I don't mean to be overly vocal. I just get lost in football like everyone else does. I think it's just an identification of the players that we've got. You know, they're young. You know, we've identified that a few times. They're young players, and with young players, and I go back to it all the time, they will make mistakes. You know, and I'm there to support them. Nikki's there to support them. I'm a positive person. I think that's been kind of identified by lots of people on the sidelines. You know, I'm quite vocal but quite positive, and I want to be positive, because do you know what? Football's all about positivity. People will make mistakes. I'll make loads of them. You know, Nikki makes mistakes. We make mistakes together. So it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay for the players to understand that they are allowed to make mistakes. And at Leatherhead, we try and allow them to do it within the confines of what we're doing. You know, I live the game because I want to be one of the lads. You know, in that dressing room, I am one of the lads. I want to be someone that they can come up to and ask certain things about the game, or, like I said to you, you know, outside of the game. I try not to be overbearing in regards to my personality on the sidelines, because at times I think you can confuse players, but I just want them to understand that I'm with them. You know, I'm in it with them, and you know, if we win together, we lose together. And that's something that Nikki stemmed from day one. You know, Nikki's very much about trust, respect and loyalty, and we've tried to get that through to the players. And myself, you know, I'm all 3 of those, and that's something that I want the players to understand and become part of. And they are, by the way, they're fantastic, the lads. There's huge praise should go to them.
So your journey to get to this level has been quite surreal. You've worked your way up from quite a low standard. No disrespect to Fleet Down,
yeah,
but compared to the stature of Leatherhead, do you ever stop to think, how have I got in this situation?
I don't, because if I did, I'd probably start doubting myself. No, listen, I've been hugely lucky in regards to the career pathway that I've been on. You know, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I got at Fleet Down, and you know, they're a fantastic club for me. And then obviously I'm very grateful to Leatherhead for giving me the opportunity. I think what I tried to do, you know, like we said from the first question, you know, I never played pro football. So for a non-pro footballer to get the opportunities that I've got is, you know, is very, very lucky. And along the way, I've had fantastic mentors that have tried to help me along the way, whether that be, you know, Steve Sales at Fleet Down, Kieran Rock, whether that be, you know, Keith Bonus, who was my mentor on my licensing, Harrison Grant, people like that, or whether it was, you know, Richard Brady stepping into Leatherhead, Nikki Ball. You know, I've been extremely lucky. And the thing with me is, like I said, I don't have an ego, guys. I don't know a lot, right? I just know what I know, and I'm learning. And every day I learn more. I read books. I'm not content with just knowing what I know. I want to try and get as good as I can be. And I think that applies to everybody, you know, and getting back to the journey, you know, what I wanted to try to do was to show people that potentially there is an opportunity out there. There is an opportunity out there, and I'm living proof of that. If you work hard and you just, you know, have a desire to try and get as high as you possibly can, then I do think the opportunities are there. You've just got to be strong in your beliefs, and also just try and keep learning from everybody. Now that could be someone that's got all the qualifications in the world or somebody that's got none. I learn from everybody, you know, I'll take a snippet from everyone. So that's why I love engaging in conversations with everybody, whether it be the fans, whether it be, you know, FA people, etc., etc. It's been a surreal journey, but hopefully it ain't stopped yet, you know, and I want to try and push on as much as I can, and hopefully I will. I'll do everything that I can to make myself as lucky and as successful as possible, and hopefully Leatherhead Football Club as well.
As well as assistant manager, you also have a kind of dual role at the club here. You're also a commercial director, which you kind of took on after becoming the assistant manager.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a real community club.
Yeah.
How much does Leatherhead sort of depend on the support of the community?
It's massive. You know, when I first got the role, one of the first questions that I asked the board was, you know, what can we do to be more successful? You know, what can we bring to the table? And one of the things which they said to me was, you know, we don't make the most of advertising, you know, sponsorship, stuff like that. Now, my background is advertising, you know, that's what I do for full-time work. So obviously I wanted to try and help the football club. So what I did was I came in, and obviously Nikki did it as well with the board members. We came in and we just went to local communities to try and get them to sponsor us, basically. It's a fantastic ground, you know, but if we're being truthful, you know, it needs, you know, a lot of updating, and to do that you need finances, you know, and so we approached lots of local community businesses. Now the reason we did that was because this football club has a feel as a community football club, you know, so local businesses play a big part of hopefully the regeneration of what we're trying to achieve. So I went out and spoke to, you know, some of our current sponsors like RT Waters, Riches & Co, you know, Malem's Quay that have sponsored us. And we hope to do that a lot more moving forward. So, you know, it's really important that local businesses, and also we get lots of sponsorship, because if we want to be successful, you know, we need as much backing as potentially possible. Now, you know, everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. And if we can bring that kind of advertising revenue to the table, then, you know, potentially it moves the club into a new structure, and, you know, takes us to hopefully a better opportunity of success. Now, whatever that may be, you know, the ambition of the club is to move on and get higher and higher and higher, and we know that firsthand from speaking to people. But again, it's the realism of you need financial backing. So if we can start to create some from within, and that's what I tried to do in the summer, then so be it. So, you know, yeah, let's try and get as much on the table as we possibly can. Let's try and get as much community support as we possibly can, because this is a community club, and, you know, we've got to help each other.
And then just finally, just touching again on that community aspect, there's loads of volunteers here that go about sort of daily activities that may not get noticed every day, but allow you guys to go out there and be successful on the pitch. Yep. Have you got any messages for those guys at all?
Absolutely. Thank you, first and foremost. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. There's lots of people that do stuff at this club now. You know, it'd take all night to mention them all, but specifically, you know, firstly, the fans, you know, they're brilliant. The groundsman, Percy, the bar staff, the board members that come down during the week, work tirelessly. in particular for us on the team management side, you've got Mickey Quinn, the physio with Braveheart. You've got Mark Allen and Biz that are the kit men. They do an extremely good job for us all. We're very, very lucky. You know, let's make no bones about it. We're very lucky because there's lots of people that do volunteer roles here that get their hands dirty, that are involved in certain things, which means we potentially don't have to do that. So, like I said, listen, thank you thank you. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the players. That's why, you know, the players make it known to go over and thank you at the end of every game rather than you thanking us. So, like I said, there's lots of people that potentially maybe I haven't mentioned, and I don't mean that personally. I can't think quite loud now of everybody, but yeah, listen, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep doing what we're doing, and you know, we all just want one big club that's successful. So yeah, thanks.